Let's start with the Phillies. Todd Zalecki yesterday in his newsletter basically gave me very, very bad news if Dave Dombrowski believes this. But he keeps saying that, if the market falls to them, I think my hopes and dreams of a outfield insurance policy for Johan Rojas, it's not looking good, Renee. Let's just say that. Here's what Todd Zalecki had to say after catching up with Dave Dombrowski. He said, Dombrowski's beliefs have not wavered on getting another outfielder. They don't want to. So there is some positive with this, that they don't want to block Johan's path. Now, I like Johan Rojas. I'm not I think you even affectionately named him Yoro.
He is Yoro. He's Yoro.
And look, he was decent in the regular season at the end of the year. Has a lot to work on. We'll get to his workout partner here in a minute. But in the playoffs, he was abysmal. And offensively, he's not quite there yet. Defensively, he might be the greatest center fielder I've ever seen in my life. A lot to be determined there. But offensively, you want him to get the at-bats, but you also don't want to block his path. And apparently the Phillies feel good enough about him kind of maybe stealing the opening day job and running with it, and Christian Pache backing him up. So I don't think I'm going to get my outfield insurance policy unless the market really kind of gives them a discount.
This, Jamie, is why I was telling you to simmer down when you were getting all carried away and excited, because as I was reading through the article, for context, Todd Zalecki was talking about, since Yamamoto came off the market and having conversations with Dave, Dave's talks of moving forward the next steps and adding pieces. But those pieces do not include Blake Snell, Josh Hader. And we already knew that. I mean, Dave Dombrowski's already talked about the fact that the Phillies aren't going to go after somebody that's going to require spending a lot of money. Yamamoto was a one-off where they were, throwing their names in the hat to see if they could take a chance and be able to reel in Yamamoto. But the Phillies haven't had any interest in going after some of the bigger names that are on the market. So in terms of asking about the outfielder position, and as you talked about, Jamie, he literally said not outfield. When we talked about outfield, we'd keep an open mind, but we also are in a position with Johan Rojas where really, as you mentioned, trying not to block his path to the big leagues. But as we also know, Johan Rojas went 4 for 43 with 1 walk and 15 strikeouts in the postseason. Although he is absolutely a Gold Glove caliber center fielder, and we love what Yoro brings on that side of the game, but to see him as a struggling at bat isn't a huge concern. So the hope for the team is that they can get Rojas to produce enough offensively, as Todd was saying in the piece, get Rojas to produce enough offensively, knowing that he is an elite center fielder, if we can just raise the bar a little bit on the offensive side. So to see them have that faith in Johan Rojas, a.k.a. Yoro, is encouraging for him, because he's now able to say, look, my team believes in me. I'm going to step my game up and deliver. That's what I'm hoping. But on the other side of it, that's a very quick turnaround and a huge amount of growth that is needed from Johan Rojas in such a short time. So I know we've talked about starting in the minors versus starting in the majors, what makes most sense for Johan. But I think right now, according to Dave, none of what we think is correct. And what they're believing is that if you give him the chance, he's going to step up, and they want to make sure he's ready to do that.
Yeah, I just feel like this is potentially a situation, and I'm not asking for a big money move. I'm asking for veteran type, and we'll get into what Todd says about veterans, which I haven't really thought that much about, which is a really good point by him. But I just feel like this is one of those things where if he's not there offensively by the trade deadline, you're going to look back on the free agent market and been like, you could have gotten so-and-so for $6 million, or you could have gotten so-and-so for $7 million. And, they're one injury away, and everybody can say that, I know. But they're like one injury away or one underperformance away from Rojas looking and being forced into the trade deadline and making a move. I'd rather just go spend the money now on a relatively affordable veteran bat. But Todd does touch on the veteran bat.
Yeah. Well, before you even get to that, keep in mind the other numbers that were in that piece that were also interesting. That Johan posted a 2.5 WAR in 59 games as a rookie, which tied for seventh on the team with Taijuan Walker. He also, as we know, very impactful, .772 OPS in 164 plate appearances. And then we know the postseason struggles. So for Dave, this is why they're not planning to acquire a fourth outfielder before spring training, as the report indicates. That's the key there.
I don't mind Pache, and I don't want this to come off the wrong way. I do like Rojas. I just want an insurance policy because this team is in championship window closing mode. Like
Pache and Cave are the options there so far.
Pache's fine. I like as a young developmental piece, but like I just want that, as Dave Dewar says in the chat, and everybody in the chat, smash that like button while you're in here, please. I just want that, and it's an insurance policy.
Yeah,
it's probably perceived as greedy, and that's fine if you want to call me that. But I think it's something you're not going to regret doing.
Like, what is the minimum batting average over the course of an entire season?
I'd almost be more concerned with the on base.
So, because the reason I ask you, because I
just get those fast little legs on base, however you can.
Let me throw this out to you guys real quick. There were 16 players last year that posted a 15 or better defensive run save. Rojas is one of those 16 players. But what intrigues me even more about that, and this is why like I truly believe that this guy could break defensive metrics at some point in his career.
He will. Yeah.
Johan Rojas had the least amount of innings played to get to that 15 number.
By a lot.
Do you know who the second? So he had 300.
It was like by
392 innings to get to that 15. The second was Alejandro Kirk, the Blue Jays catcher. He caught 775 innings.
Yeah.
And he was a 17. Now, granted, different positions and whatnot, but the point is, he is a defensive wizard to the point where he is almost 400 innings less than the second least amount of innings to get to a 15-plus DRS. I think at this point, if the guy hits, if you can get him to 240,
240 I'm fine with.
240, he's an everyday center fielder.
But I need an on base of like
the
minimum 310.
But the problem is, Jamie, he's not going to walk a lot because he's not he doesn't.
That's part of the plate discipline they want him to work on.
It's not about plate discipline. It's the Ben Revere effect. Ben Revere had no pop, and therefore guys weren't afraid to. So guys weren't pitching around Ben Revere because they knew he wasn't going to beat them with the long ball. Yeah. So guys like that type of player. Now I'm not saying that Revere and Rojas are the same player, but I'm not sure Rojas has a ton of pop either.
Yeah.
Those type of guys,
a slap hitter.
Those type of guys don't walk a lot.
Yeah, I know. I want to say, Jonathan Might, thank you for letting us know how to pronounce your last name. And welcome, Jonathan. Nice to have you here. And then we've got Jay Trella 20 in the chat as well. Welcome, saying the Braves got sailed to try to beat us in a short series, but we have done nothing to try to beat them in the division. Yeah, I think that is the consistent concern.
Because we are the one who knocks.
The Phillies, fans have had is, okay, when you're watching what's going on around the league and the different changes that are being made and how, Dave, you're saying the Dodgers figured out how they don't even have to spend real money anymore. Teams are figuring out a way to make changes to their roster. And for the Phillies, we're just going to have hope. And as Martian's saying in the chat, hope is not a strategy. But that's been the consistent thing that we've heard from Dave. We're going to be better. We're going to hope that they're going to improve. But to your question, Tyler, it just has to be, I don't even think it has to be we're not expecting a huge change, just some improvement for Johan.
240.
Yeah, because of the fact he is such an elite center fielder. And we did notice that. We talked about that last year. He played significantly less innings, but had incredible numbers, which makes you excited. And for Dave and the Phillies, I'm sure that's for them why they're so hopeful in that sense, because this is a guy that's a game changer and has a lot of potential, but potential makes me nervous.